Hello, everyone. Welcome to our online service. We're so glad you could join us today. So next week, we will be back in person at our regular times of 10 o'clock and 11:15 for our new series called Searching for Happiness. It's going to be a great one. Well, it is my hope and my prayer for you that this coming year will be your best one so far.
A thousand generations falling down in worship to sing the song forever to the Lamb. And all who's gone before us and all who will believe will sing the song of ages to the Lamb. And your name is the highest, your name is the greatest, and your name stands above them all. All thrones and dominions, all powers and positions, your name stands above them all. And the angels cry, holy, all creation cries, holy, you are lifted high, holy, holy forever. And if you've been forgiven, and if you've been redeemed, sing the song forever to the Lamb. And if you walk in freedom, and if you bear His name, sing the song forever to the Lamb. Oh, we'll sing the song forever and amen. And the angels cry, holy, all creation cries, holy, you are lifted high, holy, holy forever. And hear people sing, holy, to the King of Kings, holy, you will always be, holy, holy forever. And your name is the highest, your name is the greatest, and your name stands above them all. All thrones and dominions and all powers and positions, your name stands above them all. And the angels cry, holy, all creation cries, holy, you are lifted high, holy, holy forever. And hear people sing, holy, to the King of Kings, holy, you will always be, holy, holy forever.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and to those you love. I'm glad we get to share this time together as we approach the end of one year and the beginning of a new one. This is a time of year when, after the hustle and bustle of December, and let's be honest, probably November too, we hopefully get a chance to slow down, spend some time with our loved ones, reflect on the past year, and look ahead to what we might want to do differently in the coming year. Now, maybe this past year has been difficult for you, and you're ready to turn the page to 2025 and leave 2024 behind you. Maybe this year has been good, and you're hopeful that next year will be even better. You may have big hopes and dreams for the year ahead, but before we sing Auld Lang Syne and drop the ball in Times Square, I want to invite us to stop and remember the reason for the season: presents. No, not presents like the ones that you just opened from under the tree. Presents, as in being with someone in the moment. I hope you've gotten to experience the presence of people who are dear to you over these past few days. I also know that many of you are feeling the absence of someone who used to be with you or who should be with you, but is no longer there. This is a time of year when both presence and absence are amplified for us. And in the midst of it all, we remember that long ago, at just the right time, God chose to be present with us. God chose not to distance himself from us, but to come to be with us, even to the point of being born into the world in Jesus. Over the last month, you've probably heard the Christmas story from Matthew and Luke with the shepherds, the wise men, the angels, and all. But today, as we're talking about the everyday presence of Jesus in our lives, I think it's fitting to read the Christmas story from the Gospel of John. Let's listen to these words from John's Gospel together. In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. The one who is the true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He came into the very world he created, but the world didn't recognize him. He came to his own people, and even they rejected him. But to all who believed in him and accepted him, he gave the right to become children of God. They are reborn, not with a physical birth resulting from human passion or plan, but a birth that comes from God. So the Word became human and made his home among us. He was full of unfailing love and faithfulness, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the Father's one and only Son. There are two major themes that run through John's Gospel: light and life. He introduces them here in the very beginning of his account of the life of Jesus, and these two themes carry us through to the end. Together, they sum up what it means for God to be present with us. Later in John's Gospel, Jesus will declare that he is the light of the world and the way, the truth, and the life. In these opening verses, John helps us see that this is not just who Jesus was in his time on earth. This is who Jesus has always been from the very beginning and even before. The promise of God's light and life entering the world was given to God's people through the prophets long ago, before Jesus was born. As we read from the prophet Isaiah, the people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Maybe you feel like you've been walking in the darkness this year. Maybe these last days have been joyful, but a darkness hovers in the background. We all experience times of darkness, even in times that are meant to be joyful. The promise of light to those who only know darkness is the greatest promise they can receive. It's the promise of no longer wandering around with no direction, afraid of what might be around the next corner, unable to see the way ahead. If you are wandering in darkness, if you are dwelling in a land of darkness today, Jesus invites you to experience his presence that lights your way. And life. What better symbol of life than a newborn baby? The joy and the hope that comes with the birth of a child is a picture to us of the kind of life that Jesus longs to give us through his presence. I think back to when my own children were born, not that long ago, and the overflowing love and the desire to just hold them close that flooded into me and Julia and everyone around us. The joy that comes from a newborn baby with their whole life ahead of them gives us hope that no matter what else may be going on, life will go on and we can persevere. And it's this kind of joyful life that Jesus came to give us when he himself was born as a baby in less than ideal conditions in order to be as close to us as humanly possible. I don't think it's possible for two people to be closer to one another than a mother with a child growing in her womb. For 9 months, they share one body. And before the baby enters the vulnerability of the world, it is nourished and kept safe by the mother's every action. A good mother is completely devoted to doing what is best for the child she is expecting. That is the kind of closeness that God longs to have with you each day. God invites you to find your life completely in God, to admit your vulnerability, and to depend on God completely, just as a baby depends on loving parents for its every need. This is what it means to be reborn to new life in God through Jesus Christ. And John tells us that all we need to do is receive this new birth that comes from above. And yet, to show us what life in and with God looks like, Jesus reversed the roles. He set aside his divine power and majesty and became vulnerable, dependent, even helpless, to show us that through him, God is willing to do anything to be with us. The invisible God became visible in Jesus. And as John says, we now can see his glory and know God through him. John 1:18 says, "No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known." Now, all this talk of finding light and life with God, of living in God's presence, may sound good, but maybe it doesn't match with your experience. Maybe God has felt distant or absent from you for a long time. Maybe you've experienced things that made you question God's goodness or how God could allow those things to happen to you. Maybe you've distanced yourself from God because to draw close to God might open those wounds again. If that's you, I want to assure you, even in the darkness, God has never left your side. God has never been far away. And God is not far away now. Jesus came to bring the richest, fullest life we can imagine, and he's still inviting you to draw close, to step into the light, to find life and be healed. But how do we live with a constant awareness of God's presence? How do we cut through the clutter and distraction of our lives and focus on the God who is always near, but who often seems to be hiding, or who we simply forget is there? Often it helps to look to the example of those who have lived life with God before us to see how we can live like them in our day and age. One of the most well-known accounts of what it looks like to live every day in God's presence comes to us from a 17th century French monk named Brother Lawrence of the Resurrection. The account of his life with God, titled The Practice of the Presence of God, is a collection of some of his letters and conversations with others in his monastery and beyond. It details how he set about to live each day being constantly aware of God's presence and doing everything simply for the love of God. Over the course of his life, Brother Lawrence gained a reputation as someone who lived in God's presence daily and who was able to offer wise counsel to help others do the same. Now, we might imagine Brother Lawrence as a giant of the faith, as the head of his monastery or a prolific author or a renowned preacher. But he was none of those things. He was the cook, and later he was the shoe repairman for his monastery. And while he had taken vows to become a monk, he never climbed the ladder of leadership. He considered himself to be clumsy and unworthy even of the menial labor that was his daily work. Brother Lawrence was profoundly ordinary. Yet his life with God was so extraordinary and so evident that people around him recognized that he knew and loved God in a profound way, in a way that they wanted to know and love God for themselves. Brother Lawrence shows us that life with God is available to everyone, no matter how spiritual or not we think we are, no matter our job description or any other external qualities we may associate with holiness. Brother Lawrence simply lived his life with an awareness of the presence of God in every moment. He aimed to do everything, no matter how menial, simply out of love for the God who was always beside him. Here are a few excerpts from one of his conversations with the head of his monastery, dated September 28, 1666. That in the beginning, a persistent effort is needed to form the habit of continually talking with God and to refer all we do to him, but that after a little care, his love brings us to it without any difficulty. That he expected, after the happiness God had given him, that he would experience pain and suffering, but that he had not worried about it, knowing well that since he could do nothing by himself, God would not fail to give him the strength to bear the pain and the suffering. That when the occasion arose to practice some virtue, he always said to God, "My God, I cannot do this unless you enable me to do so." And he was immediately given the strength needed, and even more. That when he stumbled, he simply acknowledged his fault and said to God, "I shall never do otherwise if you leave me to myself. It is up to you to keep me from falling and to correct what is wrong." With this, he put the pain of this fault from his mind. That we must act very simply with God and speak to him frankly while asking his help in things as they occur. That God never failed to give it, as he often found out. And finally, that he had not consulted anyone about his difficulties, but knowing solely by the light of faith that God was present, he directed all his actions to him, come what would, and that he was willing to lose all for the love of God, as it was well worth it. Brother Lawrence's wisdom strikes me as profoundly simple and practical. Life with God is not meant to be complicated, but neither is it always easy, because our attention is pulled away from God by many things. It takes effort, but Brother Lawrence shows us that it is possible to learn to live in God's presence every day. It's about God becoming present to us, because God is right there all the time. It's about us becoming present and available to God. Now, you might think it was easy for Brother Lawrence to live with a constant awareness of God's presence, a lot easier than it is for us today. He lived a very orderly life in a monastery with no family to care for, no career to manage, none of the myriad digital distractions and the frenzied pace of life that we're faced with today. Now, I suppose on some level that's right. Maybe it is harder for us to attend to God's presence today than it was for people hundreds or thousands of years ago. But the truth is, distraction, or rather the inattentiveness to God's presence, is not ultimately a matter of our external circumstances. It's a condition of our hearts. And that condition is the same now as it has been for all of human history. I have no doubt that Lawrence could have found plenty of things to distract him from being attentive to God's presence in every moment, even though he was living in seemingly ideal conditions for cultivating life with God. He still had to choose to attend to God's presence in every moment. And when he did, he found a whole new life waiting for him all around him. Practicing the presence of God, as Brother Lawrence did, may sound difficult, and he admits that it does take effort at the beginning. Yet his book is aptly named, Being Present with God Takes Practice. It's not something that happens overnight. We have our own sins, temptations, hurts, and habits to overcome, and that takes time. But like a great athlete or a great musician, if we will commit to the constant daily practice of honing a life with God in the presence of God, we will see the results, and we will be able to live each moment with God as naturally as we once lived, unaware of God in each moment. So that's the invitation I want to leave with you today. In the closing days of 2024, will you commit to inviting God to share each moment, each day with you in the year ahead? Will you take the risk of being present with God, knowing that in Him you will find the only source of light and life? God is not far away. He is not difficult to find. He is ready and eagerly waiting to be found by you, to be close to you in every moment that lies ahead this year. So today, and in 2025, it's my prayer that you will enjoy and be transformed by the everyday presence of God with you.
Lord bless you and keep face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Amen. 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 The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Amen. 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 Sing it. Amen. 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 Amen.
May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, he is with you in the morning